Hey there everybody, Eric from OUTER LIMITLESS coming at you today with another video. Now, being a gear reviewer and somebody who's always looking at a bunch of different types of products, one of the things that I greatly enjoy is when I get my hands on something that's just completely different from what I've looked at in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, I really greatly enjoy reviewing knives and backpacks and different things for the outdoor application, but today I have something that's just a little bit different. Now, with the outdoor genre, it covers all kinds of different things. And even for me, even though I typically focus on the hiking, camping, and backpacking applications, really there are so many other genres that when I see products that fit these little niches, it's just great. And today I'm really looking at a product that comes from a company called LifeDoo. Now, have you ever seen those steps that get mounted on the side of like a truck or a vehicle or an SUV? It really hooks on the latch of the door and gives you the ability to kind of step onto the vehicle and get up to the roof. Well, that's the bread and butter of LifeDoo. However, they are in the, call it 4x4 or off-road ATV sort of genre of products, and they've come up with a product that I think is really going to be useful even for me in the camping and backpacking application. So here in this box, this is a stove. Not really a stove, but more kind of like, I would say, like a fire pit that can be used as a grill, as a nice fire pit. It's got some heft, it's got some weight, so this is not going to be really useful in the backpacking application. However, for me, I do see exactly where this is going to work almost perfectly. Now, with that said, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at LifeDoo who have provided this product for review. Now, at this point, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to unbox this. We're going to take a look at it for the first time together. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor. Stay tuned. So again, here we have this camp stove from the company LifeDoo. Now again, they focus mainly on the 4x4 off-road genre of products, but for me, I think this is going to be a great addition to my gear lineup. Now, different stoves and ways to cook are always useful. It doesn't matter whether it's big or small, gas or wood burning, there are different applications and different times when different gear has its advantages. Now this, again, just a good overall weight. If we look here and flip this over, this does have some of the specifications. So 480 by 50 by 315 millimeters. This is an overall weight of 9 kilograms in the box. And this is made of a couple of nice materials, so an A3 iron and stainless steel. So again, just this sort of hefty wood burning stove, really more like a fire pit, but I think I am definitely going to be able to put this to some good use. So now at this point, let's unbox this, open it up. So as we slide this out here, you will see the pieces of the stove itself. Again, a good amount of weight. I'll weigh this up in a minute now that it's out of the package, and we'll take a look at the overall dimensions and the weight here, but obviously nicely bubble wrapped and protected while it was in its package. So now, as we get this open here, nicely finished. First impressions are always important. That has a nice finish on it, real even. Popping that open and pulling out this first panel. Here you will see this is one of the side panels, so everything just nicely laser cut. No hard edges, everything's nicely cut. No burrs, I should say. It's not sharp, doesn't seem like it's going to get me cut or caught on anything, so very nicely done. Good even finish, just really nice. Same with the second piece, so this is the other side. Now here on this one, there is just a little bit of overspray, so I'm not sure if it's actually like slag on here or something like that. But it does look like just a little bit of overspray, so not a big deal. It doesn't mess with the overall functionality, but it's just the general presentation and something worth noting. Now these two pieces here, very nice, even. Very even on the finish. And the last piece, also very even and nicely done. So as we get into the assembly here, this said that it was A3 iron and stainless steel. Now at an initial glimpse, it's really hard to tell which is which. However, I would have to think that these plates here are the iron and these plates here are the stainless steel. That's just my guess. I guess I really don't know, but they sound, you can hear that. A little bit different in terms of the overall sound. Now, generally speaking, these are very nicely done. Like I said, only one of them had really a little bit of an issue with the finish, but not a big deal. Certainly will not affect the performance. But at this point, let's just assemble this thing and take a look at it in its constructed state. So to get this going here, it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act. I think it really shouldn't matter at all which way this goes, but if you look, it does have the logo laser cut to the outside, so we'll just put this in that way. Now that sets right into place there. Now I'm going to be careful not to really twist and torque on this while it's in this position. I don't want to accidentally bend anything. Same thing with here, laser cut. I will put that to the outside, just sliding this nicely into place. That goes in there perfect, no problem at all. And then taking this side, there you go. Fairly straightforward and no issues. Goes right into place, and that sits right as it needs to. So as you look here, now you have a firebox. Now for me, this is going to be a couple of different things. One is you could definitely use this as sort of a standalone fire pit. It's nice where it gets your fire up off of the ground. So if you had a damp campsite, this would definitely help you in your ability to get a fire started. Now it's a little bit awkward in shape where you need to be careful how you build your fire to make sure that you're not clogging the bottom so that you get appropriate airflow. That's the very first thing I notice, which is definitely key, is the bottom, the entire seam along the bottom is open, which means you're definitely going to get airflow. Some of your small embers and ashes will fall through, but that is definitely key where you're going to get good convection and good airflow up through your fire. Now the other thing I'm looking forward to is I do have a portable grill that will fit right on top of here. So some stainless steel grill grates that are going to go right on here. So this is going to be wonderful for cooking. Now you shouldn't have any problem with cleanup. Yeah, this thing's going to get greasy when I cook my steak or my burgers or whatever I'm cooking on here. It's going to get greasy. If I'm careful, I'll pack this away so that it doesn't get the rest of my gear full of grease, but at the same time, this should be a great way to cook some food. So now that this is assembled, looking at it in a little more detail, again, the LifeDoo logo, just nicely etched, going up the sides. You'll see everything just well machined, fitting together nicely. Now this thing's going to get scuffs and scratches. There's going to be no way to get around it. It's like a matte finish, and this is probably some sort of a powder coat by the feel. I'm not sure if it's powder coated or if it's like an oxide finish. This may possibly just be some level of an oxide, so I'll have to keep an eye on this. I'm not sure if over time the iron will rust. That's one thing that I think is worth paying attention to. Now, if part of this is stainless, I don't think there will be a problem, but if the other part is actually an iron, it would be worth keeping an eye on it. So this part here, we may need to pay attention to, make sure it stays dry or at least gets dried off after use. Maybe after some scuffs, there's going to be a little bit of rust showing up. I'll just be curious what happens over time. But again, as we look at everything just nicely machined, that's that space that you can see down the bottom. Now, if you're not careful and you assemble it slightly different, it can close up maybe just a little bit, but it tends to rock itself back to the point where you have that gap. So I think airflow should be pretty good. The only other thing that maybe could have been done would have been to put some holes periodically throughout this plate just to help with additional airflow, but it's hard to say. Maybe this will actually promote better airflow with a little bit of convection, the fact that the sides are kind of sealed off. I'm not really sure. It's going to be an experiment, so we'll see how this burns once we get it out in the field. But overall, I am pretty excited for this product. This is different from anything else I have. A nice portable fire pit / grill. This is going to give me the ability to have a fire up off the ground and also possibly cook my food. But the question now is, how do I intend on getting this out on the trails? Well, for me, this is going to be an awesome addition in the winter for my pulk sled. So where I have the ability to use this pulk sled and carry a good amount of gear out into the woods, out into the mountains, in the winter, in the snow, this should be a perfect addition to this kit. So taking this, packing it down, getting it nice and slim, it's actually going to fit beautifully in this upper tray here. And that's the thing. At this point, I would really love if this had some sort of a case, because imagine this is full of soot and full of grease from cooking and food, and now I need to put this back in my kit. Well, unfortunately, at that point, it's going to get my gear all kinds of dirty, nasty. So that's the one thing that I could see that would be a great addition to this, is having some nice, really like case or a thing that it would slide into once you disassemble it, pull it all apart, nice and flat, slip it inside the case. That way when you add it to your kit or your gear, you're in good shape. But apart from that, again, this is primarily used for the original intended purpose being for that sort of like 4x4 off-road application, out there deep on the trails with your vehicle. So this really, the weight is not a big deal, but I think it would limit you in your ability to bring it for camping or backpacking. Now, car camping, of course, not a big deal. And in my case, where I'm using the pulk sled, I think it'll be no problem at all. But real quick, before we wrap this up, let's take some measurements and get it on the scale. So the measurements here, as we look at the overall height, roughly 12.5 inches. The full width at the widest part, roughly, I would say 10 3/4 inches, closer to 11 maybe. And then the overall length at the longest point, 18 inches. So as you can see here, 18 inches. And then the firebox itself. So the width of the firebox, 16.5 inches. At the widest point, that's really 10.5 inches. And then in depth, hard to say, maybe 10.5 inches, something like that. So good overall size. Now at 16 inches, you can get pretty much a standard size log in here, depending on what you're looking to do. And so definitely a good size for a reasonable amount of wood. I'll be curious to see how everything burns in there. I'm very much looking forward to this. But now as far as the weight. So first thing, I need a bin, put the tare, zero it out, and getting this thing inside here, hopefully it stays where it needs to. So that is sitting nicely on the scale. 18 pounds, 7.2 ounces. So this thing has some weight. This is definitely not going to be anything you're going to carry on the trails. You need to haul it. And so for me, again, that pulk sled being key for a 4x4, ATV, any sort of vehicle, not a problem. But this is definitely not your lightweight backpacking option. So all right, guys, there you have it. A real quick look at this LifeDoo fire pit, stove, whatever you want to call it. This to me is definitely something that I'm very much looking forward to using while I'm out on the trails, using it with my pulk sled, getting it out in the dead of winter, giving me a good opportunity to get a fire up off of the ground, hopefully start very easy, do some cooking, maybe it'll throw some heat. I am very excited for this product. So again, before we go, I'd like to say thank you very much to the people at LifeDoo for providing this product for review. Now again, they do have other products, specifically really their bread and butter being that SUV step. I also think that's a great product and something worth looking at, very useful. And so this company has great products, a very small selection, but so far what I see, I am very impressed. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.